Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, where we bring the mind, body, and gym together so you can improve your health, increase performance, and live your best life. For more information, visit thinkfitnesslife.com. Here are your hosts, Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie.
This week, we are talking supplements with the founder, Sean Lake of BUBS Natural, from collagen, MCT, enhancing your coffee to what is on store next. Dive into the story behind the company, how it was founded, and the importance of it and what it stands for. It was great to sit down with Sean and catch up. We had initially met at Summer Strong a couple years ago and built our connection over the years as we've been to Summer Strong. The products that they put out are unbelievable. I take them every day. I put them in my coffee. People always ask me what my regimen is. This episode will dive into what we got going on. Enjoy the episode.
Rock solid. Well, dude, thank you for the invite to hopping on. And I know I kind of jumped right in there, but I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the podcast background and then jump right in.
Yeah. So me and my partner, he couldn't make it. He's actually training right now. We're big into health, longevity, biomechanics, in-depth world of strength and conditioning. Like, we kind of nerd out on all that stuff. And I know you and I had met at Summer Strong 2 years ago and then last year. And it always, wanted to connect and grow the network and really get people to understand what we coach every day is like from the supplement world, the nutrition world. And I obviously take your supplements, but I always praise my athletes coming back from injury is to get on collagen, ASAP, get on it. So I was like, I want to bring you on, get the story, get kind of the drive behind it. Cause I heard a little bit of it when you're talking about Summer Strong to me a little bit. And then
so I will take my lead from you. I am an open book. And from one mass hole to the next, let's let it rip. So I'll take it from you.
So just coming on the background of this company, I know it's like the specialization and the meaning behind it. And the story you told me when we met at Summer Strong, dive into that and how this became BUBS. Cause everyone always asks me, I have it on my water bottle. What is BUBS? What is this? What is this company?
Yeah. It's funny. I've had this meeting twice today already talking about how we're like everyone's well-kept secret. Oh yeah, BUBS. It's like this nifty little secret. And I'm challenging some of our partners. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm sick of being a secret. Mm-hmm. We deserve to help more people. Let's quit being this well-kept little niche thing that if you're going to have this great experience. No, let's take this out a lot further. So, but more on the name. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I mentioned earlier, I'm from Gloucester, Massachusetts, and then I moved in the 4th grade to Winchester. And you know what it's like with your buddies growing up in New England, long winters, great summers, but your crew during those middle school, elementary, high school years, that is your crew. And I mean for life. And along that path and that journey, when I was in Winchester, going through high school, I connected with a guy named Glen Doherty. And Glen and I just saw the world the same way, thick as thieves, right from the very beginning. And we just, we just partnered up. That was it. Life adventures were happening. Glen was my guy. I was his guy. And there was a whole crew of us that were in that. But Glen and I really, we locked in. We both dropped out of college. Literally horrified our parents, moved out to the mountains of Utah to become professional ski bums. Quite literally telling my mom, I'm going to go become a professional snowboarder. And my dad was horrified. He's just like, well, the world needs ditch diggers too. And I take off to the mountains, and a year later, I'm out there, I'm living there with my best buddy, Glen, and we're like, this is it. This is what we're meant to do. So fast forward about 4 years, and Glen was trying to be a pro skier. I was trying to be a pro snowboarder, and I got my free ride. So I ended up getting sponsored by a couple of companies. All of a sudden I've got a travel budget. I'm getting paid a little bit, and I'm bouncing around. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And Glen was a great skier, but he just hadn't made it So he's 24, getting ready to turn 25. And he says, you know what? If I haven't made it as a professional skier by the time I turn 25, I'm going to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. Now, this was in 1995. This is a while ago.
Mhm.
There's no like internet to tell you about what that looks like or what that training is like. It was straight up, what am I made of? This is the next challenge. I'm going for it. And I'll never forget, I drove him to the Navy recruiter and hops out of the car, goes in, signs his paperwork. A year later, I'm going to his BUDS graduation. Like, boom, goes into basic training, goes into BUDS, just, does the hardest thing any of us could really conceptualize doing and just knocks it all out. And that's Glen. Like, set a goal, hammer at it, just that determination. And, I always say I got lucky, like snowboarding for a living. It paid for college. I went back to school. So it paid for my tuition. It helped me get my feet on the ground. And then, when I got out of college, I ended up taking a job with Burton Snowboards, which is a big snowboard brand up in Vermont. And they moved me to San Diego. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. My best buddy's down in Coronado at SEAL Team 3. Like, let's go. And that was 21 years ago. So I've been out here ever since. I had a long career in the action sports industry. And during that time, I worked for Quicksilver. I worked for Burton. I worked with Tony Hawk and his secret skate park tours. Like, I had this really neat run of different roles, all super fun adventures. But somewhere in there, my body started to get a little bit dinged up. And, when you snowboard for a living, there's a lot of impact injuries happening, and your body's in different sideways positions, and you're ragdolling when you don't land a trick. And, after almost a decade of that, and then you're doing it into your 30s at a high level, it hurts. So here's Glen, Navy SEAL, and he starts bringing home these fitness regimens. And he's like, hey, you need to get in the pool. You need to start swimming. You need to do this. I want you on a bike. I want you starting to run more. And then I'll never forget, in 2008, this guy who would just like pop in between deployments, kick your ass in a workout, inspire you to level up, and then bounce out again. He comes home from one of his deployments and he's like, oh, I got this new workout routine. It's called CrossFit. And this is in like 2007. And I'm like, cross who? And he's like, oh, it's unbelievable. And we both had a membership at the Encinitas YMCA. So we go in there to practice this new thing called CrossFit. And we're like trying to do pull-ups. Oh, at a YMCA. So we're trying to do pull-ups, like handstand, push-ups, and like kicking our legs against the wall. We look like a couple of spazzes. And the whole place is like, looking at us like, are those two okay over there? And that was Glen. Like, he didn't care. He was just like, this is going to make us better humans. We do this. And I was really at that point along for the ride. And then, nutrition. Hey, we should eat more whole foods. Oh, what's that? There's a whole food-based diet? What do you mean? Hey, yeah, it's not just stovetop. You actually want to eat this other stuff too. It's, a little bit more thorough of a nutrition source. And he was just early on that program. And I learned a lot of that from him. So Glen, when he wasn't home, he was deployed, and he was doing security work for the Central Intelligence Agency in 2012. And he was one of the Navy SEALs that was killed in Benghazi, Libya. So if you ever saw the movie 13 Hours, then you know that 4 Americans were killed, and 2 of them were Navy SEALs protecting all those American lives. And one of them was my roommate. I was his listed next of kin. I was the executor of his estate. And I was in charge of this legacy of this larger than life personality, Glen. And Glen's call sign in the Navy was Bub. So what is BUBS? BUBS stands for everything great that Glen stood for when he was alive. It's a nutrition line that's all based on clean ingredients and self-improvement that's third-party tested. It donates 10% of all profits to military charities and charitable causes in Glen's name. And that's who Glen was. This guy who leveled up, stood for self-improvement, and he was always helping others. And so we kind of wove that into the DNA of this brand. And it was really, it was a social experiment. I mean, when we got started, I didn't set out at 45 years old to launch a supplement brand and like have that be my career. It was an experiment.
Just
I
kind
was
of like
taking collagen.
just for fun, or just which role of the experiment?
Kind of for fun, but it was a little bit more than that. So at that point, we had started a foundation in Glen's memory right after he died called the Glen Doherty Memorial Foundation. And the foundation's premise was to help special operators transition out of active duty to civilian life, primarily through scholarship, like fill in gaps in the GI Bill. After the movie came out and after the 2016 presidential election, like 13 Hours kind of had the zenith moment, and the foundation was at its probably peak in popularity, and everything just started to die down after that. And I just started asking questions. I'm like, don't you think it'd be great if we could like institutionalize charitable giving, like just bake it into a product or a service? And it was just an idea. Now, around that same time, or now it's like early 2017, my wife, who's a little bit younger than I am, buys me a jar of collagen, some brand off of Amazon. She's like, "Oh, I heard about this. It's going to help you with your joints and that your knees. They sound like crinkled up newspaper when you walk up a flight of stairs."
Accurate. Yeah.
And again, we had a very good diet, very clean eating protocol. Yeah. We had a 1-year-old son. My wife was pregnant with our second, and I was like, "All right, well, I'll try this stuff, this collagen stuff." And at the time, what I knew was that I was slowing down. 45 years old, still trying to back squat in the 300, still trying to run a 7-minute mile, like, when I'm doing interval training, like trying to just push myself. And I'm like, man, my recovery, like I know I'm slowing down. And collagen brought me back. It was the only thing I added into my diet, this blend of select amino acids that just are all tied to your connective tissue health. And I didn't know any of that at the time. I literally just took it because my wife told me to. Yeah. Hey, you do it.
Yeah, that's what you do.
And a month into taking collagen, my fingernails are growing like I'm the Wolverine. I needed a haircut. And around 2 months in, we're talking daily use, just put a scoop in my coffee every morning, did what she told me to. About 2 months in is when my knees just stopped hurting. And it wasn't like it happened overnight, but it felt like it happened overnight. Like I didn't know that it took 2 months to build up collagen production and that synthesis of collagen in your body, and that your body's own production of it happening because it's being stimulated by taking collagen as a supplement. What I knew was that my knees don't hurt. Simple. And I was like, well, whatever this thing is, I'm in. And I had tried glucosamine. I had tried all the different things thinking like, oh, like this will be the thing. None of it worked. And this did. And then I stopped taking it just to test it. I'm like, no, this is a placebo effect. Nope. Pain came right back. Discomfort came right back. Went back on it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's it. So I was like customer for life. And then my business partner, who was just a buddy, came over to the house one day, and we were pitching a work project together. And he sees the jar of collagen on the counter, and he's like, "Oh, you take collagen?" And I just start raving to him. I'm like, dude, I feel so good. Like I literally feel like I'm in my 30s again. Like I am moving, I'm throwing weight around. My recovery, everything feels awesome.
And he's like, on the collagen path too.
So he's 12 years younger than I am. So he was like, "Oh, I feel great. I don't need any of that." I'm like, "You do though. You do." And what he knew was that collagen was trending on Amazon. Again, this is, 7.5 years ago. He's like, "Oh, that's, the data supports that that's a fast growing product on Amazon." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "We should start a company." And I'm like, "Dude, I got a 1-year-old behind me. Like, you're nuts." But sure. You know what? What would it look like if we were to start a company? And we both looked at each other for totally different reasons. And we said, hey, whatever we do, we got to do something cool for charity. Opening line. And I raised my hand. I'm like, well, I know the charity. It's got to be Glen's charity. And Glen's call sign in the Navy was Bub. So we named the company BUBS Naturals as a tribute to Glen and his way of life. everything we make will stand for self-improvement, and we'll always be helping others by giving 10% of all profits to charity. And we just came together like lightning in a bottle. It just felt so right. Well, no one was quitting their day job then. It was just an idea. So I'm like, well, let's see if it works. Like, it can't hurt. Like, I'll keep doing what I do, but let's go down this path. Let's learn about this ingredient called collagen. Let's learn about who makes it. How is it made? How can we be better than everybody else? How can we differentiate? Because Glen was, so we have to be. And that was it, man. We started the journey. So Bub is quite literally Glen's call sign in the Navy. To me, it's something that's incredibly aspirational because it gives us something to live up to. That idea of self-improvement and just bettering yourself and helping others at the same time. And I think that's what it's all made of. So that's kind of Bubs in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think that's what really, when I heard it, like resonated with me is like, or when I do see, I put the sticker on my bottle, it's like, that's what it represents. And of course, like my athletes see it and I tell them not maybe the whole story, but kind of what it represents and then how they can get on that path.
Yeah.
And then for you guys to kind of really pull into the collagen, I mean, because that was really, I didn't start until I met you. Like sampled the collagen MCT. I'm like, wow, this is now my like morning coffee routine. What kind of drove you to like that high quality of collagen and like decide, like, did you have research back behind it?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So number one, you just think of it from like the heart part of this, like forget the mind part, just the heart part. The heart part says, I'm going to put my best friend's name on the jar. It's got to be the best quality that I can find. Like I'm taking Glen's reputation. I'm taking who Bub was and is. And every day I'm now representing that through this product. Like this right here has to be the best it can be, or I'm not doing my job. So then it was learn about collagen. Well, what is collagen? Collagen is an incomplete protein. Collagen as a protein in the human body is the most abundant protein in your body. Of all the thousands of proteins in your body, you've got more collagen than anything else. And what we know is that collagen, as you age, your body naturally produces less and less and less of it. So the guide to supplementing with it, the rule of supplementing with it is pretty steadfast. Your body's not making it. And unless you have a great diet that is going to uniquely add it in, then you need to supplement with collagen. And it's really hard the way we eat now to eat 3+ pounds of ground beef every single day. So supplement with it. Well, how do you know it's the good stuff? I always tell people, read the back of the jar to start. And what you're looking for are all of those amino acids. Look at the amounts that are in there. How much glycine per serving is in your collagen? All right, we got 4 grams a serving. Like that's a lot. Well, why glycine? Well, glycine produces synovial fluid. Glycine is linked to sleep patterns. How about proline, lysine, hair growth? Like there's so many amino acids that are linked to your connective tissue health. So I set out to say, well, I want to have the most of them. That's a goal. Like numbers don't lie. You have to independently test. The FDA regulates them. But then I said, well, what else can we do? Well, how about third-party accreditations? So I looked up the best in third-party testing, and I learned about this. I had no idea what it was at the time in 2018. I'm like, oh, look at this. There's this thing called NSF for Sport, the National Sanitation Foundation. And apparently they third-party audit all ingredients for label integrity, label claims, and heavy metals, like the whole 9 yards. And it's pass or fail. They give 0 Fs. You are either going to have great integrity or no integrity. And I was like, let's go. Like, let's get that logo on every single jar of collagen that we make. And I had no idea how hard that was to get or like what those standards were other than, no, this is the best of the best. Then that's what we should have. And
well,
so we went out.
A lot of my athletes compete at a high level. They have to have that. They have to have the NSF. they can't mess around with these. I hate to say it, but like you go on Amazon, you can buy collagen that you just don't know. And I would say the comparison, always looks at the nutrition label, is unbelievable years compared to other ones.
Yep. And you can do that, right? I always tell people, like, look at it. If you don't want to buy a top shelf supplement, and you want to save $10 on a jar, like, look at good is better than nothing. Like, doing nothing is the worst thing you can do. So go buy something. Sure. If you want to go buy a jar off of Amazon, go buy a jar off of Amazon. But if you want to invest in your health, I mean, you're getting what you pay for. So it's the difference of putting crappy unleaded gas in your car and putting super unleaded in. Like, you get better performance and better longevity from putting super unleaded in, then go put super unleaded in. And that's kind of how we approach our approach on everything that we do is, well, let's just do it at the highest possible level, whether it's our electrolytes, whether it's our functional creamer, heck, I mean, our coffee line, whatever it is, let's do it at the highest level. Let's make sure that when it's applicable, it's NSF for sport certified. Let's make sure that folks can look at that and rely on it. And then I also went after a service called the Whole30 Approved, which is a clean eating protocol, and presented our brand to them as well.
Oh, wow.
Said, hey, you know what? Like, we do all the NSF for testing, but these are largely single ingredient products based on whole foods that folks can ingest into their diet and retrieve better health benefits. Does this work for you guys? It took about a year to really crack them open, but then they
I was about to say, that's got to be a tough one to crack.
Tough. A lot of unanswered emails, a lot of phone calls. And finally, they're just like, if you'll leave us alone, we'll take a look at your brand. And they came back like a month later and they're like, oh, wow. Like, this is great collagen. This is a phenomenal creamer. So they certified us for our vegan creamer line, and they certified us for the collagen. And that's what I always tell people is, like, look at what you're buying. Like, there's a lot of super creamers out there and, like functional creamers. I mean, if you want an MCT oil, which is a medium chain triglyceride, right? It's coconut oil. Ideally, it's coconut oil. It better not be palm oil. But if it's coconut oil broken down into a smaller chain fatty acid that your brain is going to use for fuel and energy, mental focus, like, go out and get a good quality one. And what's it put in? Like, if it's a powder, if it's MCT oil, where does that coconut oil sprayed into? Oh, in our case, it's 2 ingredients. You got coconut oil and you got tapioca starch, which is essentially just cassava root broken down. Cool. It's keto friendly. It's paleo diet friendly. It's Whole30 approved. And you're going to get rocket fuel in your body for mental focus and energy. 2 ingredients. So that's in general what our approach is. Do it clean. Make sure it's effective. Third party validate what you say you're going to do. Not, just for the sake of getting peace of mind. And then just let the product integrity speak for itself. Like, once you take it and you notice it and you have those great health benefits, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, with the MCT, did you guys kind of look at that when I remember the keto phase? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago when people were doing the coffee, the butter in the coffee. We're like, hey, this is something. Let's see if we can enhance this. Because then MCT did become really popular. But do you remember they were in pill form first?
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible, dude. And you had to take like 4 of them. They were like these giant horse pills.
Trust me, I remember like the early, because I would do that stuff. I'd be like, oh, MCT, read about it. Okay, let's try it. Let's see it. And, I remember doing the coffee with the butter, and it's just, it wasn't the greatest. But then, kind of meeting you, and you're like, I'll try the MCT. And I was like, what's this? And it's like, I have coffee every day. And I blend this stuff every day. And people are like, oh, why do you have coffee? I say, well, to mix all my supplements. And I mix everything. And this might sound a little crazy, but what I'm recently doing is I've been mixing some of the electrolytes in the coffee too. So
that's not
I get
common.
The salt, the coffee, the magnesium. I'm like, oh, this is like, it's like my morning. I call it a power drink because what you said earlier, a lot of people don't realize, especially females, like collagen, skin, elasticity, all this stuff for my athletes for the injury prevention or coming back from ACLs. I tell them any injury, basically, get on collagen. And I'm like, hey, 20 grams a day, take it. And they start seeing the recovery happen a lot faster than what they're just told to, like, oh, just go eat normal stuff. I'm like, no, you got to supplement this.
Yeah, you do. You do. I mean, you just don't get it in your diet. Like, I talked with this guy, Thomas DeLauer. He's a friend of the brand. He's an absolute smart as tack on his general nutrition. And he's like, look, if you can get it in your diet, cool. But unless you're eating like gobs of bone broth and ground beef and eating tip to tail on your animals, chances are you're just not getting it naturally in your diet. So this is how you supplement with it. Unflavored, heat tolerant protein. Throw it in your coffee, move on. The MCT side, the creamer side, like the coconut oil side, to me was a no-brainer because, I've drank the bulletproof coffees and those butter coffees, and I felt like I was drinking an oil slick.
Yes.
And I was like, dude, I'm missing all the flavor notes in the coffee that make coffee great. And I just feel like this texture in my mouth is horrible. So what we love about tapioca starch is visually it's creamy, which I like. Like, I like heavy cream in my coffee. Not a lot, but like that little splash just fills you. It's very satiating. And coconut oil does that. So I'm like, well, that's great. So it has this little hint of flavor. Visually, it looks great. And then you get this great mouthfeel to it. And your coffee is just plussed up. It's enhanced. So those two were just like, that was the no-brainer. The electrolyte side is funny you say that because I got friends that like, they'll use like the Element electrolytes because they have a chocolate flavor. And they're like, oh, make it like a mocha. Check this out. And they'll throw it in with our creamer. And I'm like, interesting touch. Okay. It was a little too much for me, but I'm like, no, I get it. Like it literally tastes like a salty latte, like not bad.
What I would say, like, especially for me, so I work out early in the mornings, that like my coffee is really like the first thing I have post workout.
Yeah.
So to me, I dump like creatine, I dump everything to get all that back in while I'm going to work. It's the best. But I did, searching for like the electrolytes. I obviously tried a lot, but the sodium magnesium ratio of yours.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ones, but when I did have your sample, it was like, okay, this just hits different. Because a lot of them try to be very sweet. But was this something like, do you guys say, hey, I gotta get in this electrolyte game? Or was that in the works?
No. So it's funny you mentioned that. So I always listen to what our customer base has to say, what the BUBS family has to say. Like, hey guys, what are you interested in? And I want to be able to meet them where they are. So in 2021, we sent out this big customer survey and we're like, what do you guys like? What do you not like? Where could we be better? It was very much just like a gut check. Like, let's go hear all the good, bad, and the ugly. And one of the questions was like, what would you like to see from us? And there were two things that jumped out. Number one was because we always talk about drinking coffee, they were like, we want you to make coffee. I was like, oh, all right. They trust that we would do a good, organic, like high quality roast. I'm like, that was awesome. The next thing was electrolytes. So I looked at that and I said, okay, well, here we are. We make this whole selection of products from the cow, right? That's our collagen line. It's all cow. Then we've got the coconut line. And I'm like, we have all this coconut oil for our MCTs, but what about coconut water? What are the perks of looking at coconut water more closely? You have naturally occurring amounts of potassium and a little bit of chloride in there. Okay, so you got those two things going for it. There's also a naturally occurring amount of sugar. Coconut sugar is found in coconut water. Well, everyone knows, you need a couple of grams of sugar to put that sodium to work and get it stimulated and moving through the bloodstream for rapid rehydration. So I'm like, okay, what's a good sodium source? Himalayan salt. Landed on it really quickly. I'm like, no brainer. You've got a load of chloride, you've got sodium, you've got potassium. Now, where are some good sources on the magnesium front? And we found that you can get magnesium chloride from ocean water, from kelp. I'm like, okay,
Did not know
so
that.
from all natural sources, without adding a stitch of flavor, in 3 ingredients, I can have a complete full spectrum electrolyte profile. Organic evaporated coconut water, magnesium from ocean water, and Himalayan salt for chloride and sodium. And I can get 2,000 milligrams combined electrolytes in 3 ingredients. Cool. All right. How do we flavor this? How do we like now make it palatable? And we are very much a minimalist brand. Like you can tell from our other ingredients.
Yeah.
1 ingredient, 2 ingredients. So the challenge was, hey, you got this brand Liquid IV. They got 906, they own 90% of the market share. They've got 15 ingredients. They got 14 grams of sugar per serving, and they got 965 milligrams of electrolytes. I'm like, cheap ingredients, high margin, flavor bomb. I want to be the exact opposite of those guys. I want an all natural, clean electrolyte from nature. And that was it. That was the job. How do we get this from nature? And this is where we landed. It's funny because it's a very salt forward product to some people. Like some people taste it and they go, "Oh, your lemon flavor tastes really salty." And I don't taste it. All I taste is lemon and sugar and sweetness. But every palate's different. But what I wanted was a true athletic formula of electrolytes. I wanted to help anyone out with muscle cramping and that fatigue with the highest volume of electrolytes without going overboard. And hey, if you're hungover, got you.
Yeah.
If if you're traveling, flying cross country, you're going to get dehydrated. I got you there. And just help the athlete out, help everyone out with better performance. And then we're like, we're NSF for sport certifying the whole thing. I took one of our flavors and made it USDA organic, it's a first. It's never been done before in electrolytes. I was like, good. USDA organic electrolyte plus NSF for sport certified. And we threw Whole30 in there in the mix too, just because they're a great team and it met all their criteria. I'm like, let's go differentiate.
Still fascinates me that I'm glad that Whole30 finally is allowing these supplements to be said, hey, these are beneficial for people's health and it can stay within those guidelines.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned the flavor, because that's was something I was going to mention. Because you do have your Liquid IVs, your news, that everyone's like, they're looking for this flavorful, sweet taste. And some of them are very powerful. And I would say yours is it's a weird, subtle salt. It's not like salty salt. It's like for some reason, it hits me like a low salt dose. But
yeah.
I know a lot of athletes that I know and train, and especially marathon runners, they like that salt taste. Like they want to taste that taste rather than just be like, oh, this tastes sweet. They want to be like, hey, I'm taking in the salt. I sense it. And also for the brain, right? Tells us, hey, salt, we can drink more liquid. We can pull it in. It's that triggering. So this is why I would tell people when it comes to these electrolytes, you want it to taste salty for this neurological effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, again, it was from a goal of maximizing benefits next to simplicity. Kind of like, here's simplicity meets self-improvement. Like, let's go play together. So, we talked a little bit earlier, and I want to circle back on this on kind of the science element. Initially, I don't have a PhD in nutrition. I don't have that background. I'm the experiment. And if it works for me, then I believe it's going to work well for others. How do you go from that experience and scale it into an effective, well-made product that has integrity, that is going to help folks for what they want? Like, you need energy. Have you ever met coconut oil? Oh, you have joint discomfort or skin elasticity issues or connective tissue problems? Meet collagen. Organic, fresh roasted coffee. Hey man, that's a no-brainer. And the benefits around electrolytes and human performance are truly well documented. So we had a really good baseline. Then it was, how do our partners validate their own claims, and how do we closely align with that science? And that's been something we've done ever since. And now we're finally like at a big enough size that we're able to really lean in on that and start focusing a little bit more and like tying ourselves directly 2 studies. So one of the things we're doing in 2024 is looking at that, looking at our partners and some of the claims that they want to really explore that have been anecdotal. Like one of the things I love is longevity. So I kind of want to do a study based around more of an aging population. And collagen studies have been done like a lot around hair, skin, and nails, like the very cosmetic side. I'm like, I want joint health in an aging population. And, I know from there, you can then take that and extrapolate it down to, okay, now let's go into that high school and collegiate athlete on injury repair, which is where collagen has been the most effective for the younger population. Because listen, for anyone listening to this, like if you're under 25 years old, I don't recommend you take collagen. Like you'd be wasting your money. I don't think you need it. Your body is naturally producing enough of it. However, if you're in that teenage and early 20 something, guess what? Electrolytes, you should be hammering them as part of your exercise routine and as a part of your replenishment, because your brain will thank you and your muscles will thank you. And then, MCT, I largely leave as like, look at, if you want that little extra edge and kick, dude, healthy fats are the way to go. Get rid of your processed sugars, get rid of that crap, and just go for a good, healthy fat source, and you're going to be humming along.
And that's always really because we do train a lot of younger athletes when they ask, well, and I do respect this question, but what's a good supplement? And it's a weighted question because it's super saturated out there.
Yeah.
And I never want my athletes or my clients going out there just buying random stuff. I always want to look at like highest quality. Are they going to push that needle of longevity even further? So that's the key to anyone listening. When you're looking for that supplement, like make sure that they're going above and beyond to get those certifications and to be that standard of, hey, we're going to be the top tiers. Because there are those companies that we always recommend, like you guys, BUBS and Thorns up there. Like those companies are just reputable. You guys are like the gold standards because of all this stuff you do.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Thorn because they're my go-to. And I will chat with those guys and be like, hey, so, considering this, or what do you know about this? And the amount of science and testing that they put in is a great complement to the more natural approach that we take. And they're going to put 30 ingredients together, tie them up in a bow and be like, here, science backs this. And I'm going to say, cool, I'm going to take one of those ingredients that we believe in, or a different ingredient to get to a pathway to health, because that's the BUBS Naturals way. Like our way is a little bit different than yours. They're a great complement. And, when someone comes to me and says, hey, I really want a good, plant-based protein. Oh, no problem. Have you tried Thorn? Just you look no further than someone who's going to NSF for Sport certify what they do. Look at the label claims, look at the testing that they're willing to put into it. And there's a lot of good brands that are out there, but there's only a few that I would call great.
Yeah.
And that separation from good to great is something that doesn't have to break the wallet. It just requires you to just be a little bit more in tune with what you're putting in your body. And it's the same thing I would say to anyone going out for lunch, going for breakfast. Like, pick, what are you choosing? You're making a choice. You're putting gas in the tank. So make a good choice.
So with all that, I mean, you guys are going to kind of, are you funding these studies? Or are you going to kind of have the scientists like, hey, this is our product. We're going to have the groups test them. I mean, this is going to be, hopefully you can fast track this stuff fast, because we always love this industry. Loves when studies come out saying, hey, collagen or this can do that. It shows different aspects, because people need to know more than just, you're right, that's skin and nails, but like they want to know from a gut longevity standpoint, what's going on? What do they have here?
Well, it's actually interesting you mentioned gut. So gut health is I believe one of the best claims around collagen that has one of the weakest amounts of substantiation.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, but also opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I look at that and I say, hey, that's the kind of the second bucket that I'm interested in, is the gut health.
Right.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's a lot of statements being made that collagen actually coats the large and small intestine and does a phenomenal job of protecting those healthy gut bacteria so that they can do their job processing the crappy foods that we're known to put through our bodies. Mm-hmm. So why not apply that science? So as far as costing goes, fortunately, our partner on the manufacturing side puts their money where their mouth is. So I can do this with them. So we kind of talk about it together. Like they can only fund studies where they know like, hey, is this going to drive better research? It's going to drive better understanding.
Right.
I'm giving them the market intel around, well, this is where we sell. This is the customer base that we're interested in promoting health and wellness to. So why don't we align on these? And then what do you need? How do we come together? The other nice thing is there are some institutions that are paying for these studies. So thankfully, I don't actually have to come out and say, here's my checkbook. Let's pay for this. There's already enough momentum around the health benefits of collagen to have those studies be facilitated at a university level and beyond. So I'm like, oh, this is great. Like there's actually groups we're all kind of moving in the same direction. And I don't care if it's freaking Vital Proteins, like it's, if it's Nestle that's funding a study,
Right.
if it moves the needle and educates more people on better health, then all ships rise with that tide.
I think that's a big thing, especially collagen and talking proteins and peptides. That industry in the next couple of years is going to expand for the goodness. And I think that's really what's going to push everything. So people understand what peptides are, because people kind of panic.
Yeah.
And that's what collagen is, but it's very beneficial for the body from there's plethora of stuff we could talk about, but longevity, gut health, mind, repair, all this stuff.
It's funny because like we talk about new product development, like what's next at BUBS, and that one word hangs over the entire initiative. What is it doing for longevity? What is our lens on longevity? Simplicity, self-improvement underneath the umbrella of longevity.
So with that, what's kind of, if you can answer, what's kind of on the docket next? I mean, I know a lot of people, it's interesting because they really don't think electrolytes is longevity, but now all this stuff and coaches are starting to talk about, oh, well, sodium is important for, plasticity, the arteries, and magnesium. You need all this. Like electrolytes is not just an athlete's thing. It's a longevity thing now. So you kind of nailed that one because we're kind of really stead. What's on the docket next?
So the electrolytes is the first one. So I'm constantly tinkering with this and like, hey, how do we make this better? And so we are looking at not just different flavor profiles, but how do we make some adjustments in our electrolyte ratio, our content? Have we played with Celtic salt? Have we played with like different ingredients? And I'm always tinkering with that. There's actually some great natural mineral sources domestically here in the United States, which I love. So there's, we've got the Great Salt Lake, and there's some great mineral-based salts there, which you can get calcium, magnesium, chloride, sodium, and potassium chloride right from the earth. Literally, we're talking about mining it from like this really mineral-rich content. And I'm like, why aren't we playing with that? That's as natural as it gets. So we're looking at the electrolytes and expanding in that. I'm very geeked on that particular area because if I take an electrolyte and I'm going to do a 10-mile run, or I'm going to do a long, CrossFit based workout, and I'm going to be training for hour plus 2-hour modalities, I want to make sure I'm getting the right fuel in. So that's one bucket that we're already in. I can tease that we're very interested in cognition, and we're very interested in in cognition. There's some ties to joint health. You can get where the hint's going on that one, and gut health.
So you play on some alpha GPC, maybe?
Can you read this board behind me? What's going on around here?
I read it says that your body will thank you. No, but because
your body will thank you. No, we're not doing that one specifically.
Okay. But I know that's big too. And people have been asking me, oh, what's this alpha GPC? Its supplements are coming in with it. And I've tried the Thorn pre-workout has it, and, looking, researching it, looks pretty good. So I was interested with cognition. I know nootropics are starting to become a realm of like, hey, okay,
what can we do together? Yeah. I mean, I've been tinkering with lion's mane and reishi mushrooms, and and then, hey, how does L-theanine and lion's mane play together? How does some of these more natural, how does this amino play with this mushroom? and, how do they work together? How does that, create a stimulus or a smoothing effect around your caffeine? And how does it kickstart, again, what's going on up here? Do I remove the MCTs and then have this purely? What happens if I put all three of them together? So right now we're kind of on the human experiment side of that, but where cognition takes us, where gut health takes us, and there's one product that obviously can kind of create a little bit of a link there. But that's how I approach that longevity lens. Like, how's this going to keep us in the game longer, crisper, better? What can we improve on around gut health? And, I want cognition. I want to feel mentally sharp and on top of my game. And, what are the things we can do naturally from the earth to give us that edge?
So what you're saying is you're going to give us a morning coffee that's even more badass than it is now. Looking forward to that one day.
Guaranteed.
My coffee complex, whole place, just maybe one day it's just everything right there, boom, in a bag, mix it and let's go.
It's funny. So I flew to Logan Airport in November, and I had to go see my sister up in Gloucester, and we had just launched an organic instant coffee in the tear packet.
Oh, I didn't know you guys had that.
We do it with our MCT.
Oh, okay.
So we put the MCT in the packet. So it's like tear, pour, go. And then, I always add a little collagen into it.
Mm-hmm.
I take the red eye, which is god awful, get off the plane. I'm all schleppy. And I walk up. The first thing I hit is a Dunkin' Donuts at 6 a.m. And I'm like, yes, beauty is all I have to do is walk up and get a, free cup of hot water from them.
That's right.
Poured it in, mixed it up, hit the rental car, drive up to Gloucester. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm waking right back up on that one. So how can we expand on those easy, quick, natural ingredients to just create a more seamless morning routine?
Well, I think my travel coffee just got an upgrade now, because that's one of the biggest things is trying to get that coffee on the go. And I'm not a big like Starbucks Dunkin' guy, but now clearly I'll be heading to the store online to pick up the instant. And I think that's like kind of where can people find you?
Yeah. So, for a lot of folks, Amazon is their easy thing. I get it. It's a layup. So we are actually Amazon's choice for an Amazon Prime for all the things, our collagen, the creamers on there, all of our electrolytes, and predominantly our website. So BUBS, BUBS Naturals. So bubsnaturals.com, BUBSNATURALS.com. And then all of our social handles, Instagram, Facebook, Snap, all the things is at BUBS Naturals. And, we just keep it real tight. This is where you can come find us, ask us any questions. If you can't find an answer on the website or, just hit us up. We're an open book.
Yeah. I mean, probably one of the coolest companies that I've got to meet on my traveling and conferences, and from a nutrition standpoint, a business standpoint, a storage standpoint. I mean, we can't thank you enough for what you guys do and what was done for our country. And
Thanks,
I
man.
mean, kind of wrapping up, anything else you want to kind of touch upon?
Yeah, like you're offering a great service here because you're educating anyone tuning in on asking better questions around their nutrition, around their training, right? It's like you're going to do another show and you're going to end up like diving deep into, muscle confusion. You're going to dive into different training modalities. On the nutrition side, it is all about the fuel that you put into the tank. Like, you're not going anywhere until you feed yourself. And if you can get more people to pay attention to what they're putting in their bodies, it is going to make a world of difference out there. I mean, just the quality of their interactions in life, outside of the gym, in the gym, hiking that mountain, whatever you choose to do, you're just improving your chances of success. So I love that. I love that you're able to share that with folks.
And it's what I love too is this isn't, we talk about strength training and all this stuff, but this isn't for just that. People think, I have to work out to take these supplements, or I have to, nope, these supplements are here for overall health. And I think that's where the industries are starting to take it now, much like your ambitions are, is like longevity. This is for the everyday person. They might not be able to go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, but they wake up, they have their coffee, it's nutrition, they stay on their path, they stay on their trajectory, and they can incorporate all this for better health. It's not just, oh, I hit a hard workout, I have to have this for recovery. So I love that your brand stems into this realm of we're taking care of the world one person at a time and keeping it so simple with that kind of message and trajectory.
Yeah, it's the mom, right? Like your mom's like, oh, you look great. What have you been doing? Well, mom, get on this program. Your aunts, your uncles, like your immediate family, like just try this. And trust me, like when I comes to my parents and my aunts and uncles and like those relatives around me, maybe 1 in 10 is like asking critical questions, but they're ready to listen. They've got the aches and pains. And then for anyone on the younger side, it's like, dude, this is your chance to get ahead of it. Get ahead of the curve now. Like take better care of yourself now. And you're in it for the long haul. So it's good stuff. And I love the service that you guys provide. And it's funny when you talked about like brands that you love and missions that you love. I thought you were going to say, Bert, Soren, and the guys down at Sorinex, because I look forward to seeing you there this summer.
Oh, of course. I mean, I don't know if you can see behind me. I got my Sorinex rig racked up in my gym. We met the epitome, right? Everyone's there for one reason and push that kind of group success mentality. That's what it is. To have that, like they call it, that culture. And to keep that, especially with this growing of other coaches, interns, athletes, younger kids, even older kids, that anyone that we can influence is important. And that's why I love sitting down and having these conversations or getting people a little bit out of their comfort zone when I do have my coffee or say, hey, try a scoop of this in your drink. And they're like, oh, it's going to taste bad. And I'm like, well, if it does, I'll buy you a new one. And they take it and they go, oh, I didn't taste the thing. And I say, well, it's good for you. And that growing those minds is really what kind of embodies everything that Bert does, you do, and we want to do here as coaches.
Yeah, do one person at a time. And it scales, like one person at a time, making a good quality decision, truly feeling those benefits, because that's when rubber meets road. Once you feel better, once you can feel it here, you can relay that to others. Oh, take it from me. Like this changed my life. Like that's why I can talk about collagen the way I talk about it. Like it changed my life, period.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming on and spending your time with us. Couldn't thank you enough. I know it's taking time out of your day, so we always appreciate it.
If you're ready to make steps towards improving your health or increasing your performance, book a free 30-minute call today by visiting thinkfitnesslife.com.